Today, the topic we are going to go through will be the selective sample test explanation, which is in the thinking skill part in 2022. Through this analysis, what I want you guys to understand is how many type of questions is being tested in the recent sample, and what is the common and most useful strategies that we need to solve the problems. Generally, I can tell you the samples in 2022 is much difficult and the time stress than the previous one. So the levels of the difficulties obviously is increased a lot. So that required us to be prepared 2 points. The first one is we need to prepare us mentally strong enough to accommodating the difficulties, which means if in the real test you do not have enough time to finish all the question, it's totally fine. Because some of the question is really challenging and we might not have the specific times for each of the questions. And secondly, I want you guys to understand is you need to be very familiar with the common strategies we're going to use to solve the problem, which is related to your time management. That is a little bit challenging to say some of the question you need to answer it correctly, but you need to answer it correctly and efficiently. So that is 2 points I want you guys to understand first before we jump into each of the details. So the part one, in this video, I'm cutting into the 5 sections. This is section 1, which is we're going to go through the general ideas about what analysis about this sample test. From this page, you can see the question distribution. We can technically find that the problem solving, that is still accounting to 28%, which is the most majority of the questions coming from. But in the problem solving, it's going to testing us, firstly, the ability to understand the question. And then secondly, what is the strategies you can just quickly search in your mind to solve this problem. You need to try that. You need to see if it works. If it's not, you will just draw off and just start another one immediately. The common strategies we are talking here in the problem solving, you can see from the diagram on the right. Normally, the most common one is trial and error. Somebody called it guess and check. It's around 10%, which is 4 questions related to that. And another one is TML, which is we need a table, we need a map, or sometimes we need to draw the lines as our strategies to re-represent the information and try to solve the problem. Another one we might use is test and verify, which is we try to find out the pattern, we tested it, and then we verify it to see if our patterns works. Then we use that pattern to apply to solve the problem. And the reverse thinking, of course, that is in the math and in the thinking skill, that is very common strategies we're using. Another is learn and use. That is what I addressed in the previous videos already, which is they give us a very new concept. We need to read it, we need to understand it, and then immediately we need to use that strategies to solve the problem they present to us in the question. That is called learn and use. So basically, that is how this 28% of the problem solving section, that what we need. Second one you can see is a conditional statement. In a conditional statement, it's going to be testing us not only about how can we tell the necessary conditions, sufficient conditions, how can we use the control positional statement to solve the problem. It's also including the conditional chains, testing us the certainty and uncertainty. That is all will be including in the conditional statement. The next one we can see is a logical sequencing. In the logical sequencing, actually is 2 parts. Mainly, it's still about the sequencing, which is 15%. Another one is about 2%, which is matching. Matching problem is a little bit different from sequencing, is that they only give us two groups of the subjects. We need to use the informations to match them together. So next one we can see is argument. Argument comparatively, argument is easier section, which is in the real test, we have no space to make the mistakes here. So in the argument, we only got two sections. One is strength and weaken. That is very common. And another one is fallacy. Fallacy, you know, that is just want us to find out what's the mistakes or what is the flaws that we can find out in somebody's argument. So the last one is graphic reasoning. Sorry, it should be graphic reasoning. Graphic reasoning will be including like different views, how to do the image combination, and what is the basic transportations that images can have. That is all be included in this section. So you can see that problem solving, conditional statement, logical sequencing, argument, graphic reasoning. Comparatively, this percentage in each question category is very similar with the previous sample test. So that's what you're gonna expecting to see in your real test, the distribution of the questions. So from this page, we can see is the difficult levels. I'm not sure if you can see it clearly, but you might just do the screenshot on this page. And to match the question numbers with the exact questions here, you can see that we still got 3/4 of question. It's a very basic question, right? So we got around another 1/4, which is a little bit challenging questions. So from this analysis, what I want you guys to understand is in the real test, you should focus on the basic questions, which means when you some questions might be difficult, but don't worry. Don't make yourself like worried about that, because that question is not only difficult to you, it's going to be difficult to anybody, right? So for us is that we have to be very, very careful to make sure we get the basic questions correctly. All right, that's if you get all that correctly, you can reach to 29. You can reach 29 already. 29 in out of 40 is already been very good scores for this sample test. So that is one suggestion I can give to you. And I also represent by difficulty levels. You can see all the numbers here by 1. That is a basic question. You can just compare these questions. Look at these question numbers in your sample test to see if you do that correctly. And all the questions are marked by 2. This is a little bit challenging one. Which means even you made the mistake when you first time to do this sample test, it's okay. Don't worry about yourself. It's definitely fine, but you should be more focused on that basic question, which I put a number 1 here. That is the questions you be very, very careful. That is the basic requirements. Okay, you need to focus on to see if you did it correctly. If anything wrong under this category, you need to find out what's the reason, all right, to make the mistake. Either you made the silly mistake, or you just still don't understand what that questions mean, or you say that I don't have enough time to do that. Find out the reasons and try to avoid it in the futures mock test or the real test. Okay, that is the basic summaries about the samples. We're going to talk about the problem solving in the next section.